This meeting is being recorded. So welcome to e-commerce and marketing technologies, hosted by UNYP. And this is week 13. So we're going to start off by going through this mess of a quiz we had last week. And I'm just going to at least take an example of each of the questions and see if you guys can't collectively understand it. The reason that this is important is because that you all understand it. At least one person from the team needs to understand it because they need to apply it to your project. Because that's what I would expect to see. Remember, the project is a capstone of all of your activities that we've, and all of the general learning that we've used in this class. So if you don't have these elements in your final project, then it will be incomplete. Okay, so let's start with the first question. It's selling to business online, and I'm calling out that we have the B2B relationships that even for all of your projects, because even if you're a B2C business, you probably have relationships, not probably, you do have relationships with other businesses. So how are you, and even if you didn't answer it properly in the quiz, even if right now you could just imagine, how are you, or could you leverage e-commerce to either increase revenue or decrease costs, but related to the B2B relationship? So can somebody give me maybe a good example of that? Marek, why don't you give me an example of that?
Like leveraging the business to business e-commerce, right?
Yeah. There are probably some pretty obvious big ones. And by the way, don't go into the detail. You don't have to be like thinking too hard about it. Just imagine what's the primary thing that my food does.
Like we are selling to consumers, like B2 consumers.
Yeah. I mean, that's your business. You're selling to consumer, but what do you do?
So we are like selling the healthy foods, like healthy products to our customers.
Well, you sell it, of course, sell it, but what do you do? What do you have to do before you sell it?
Like have our app, like customers need to firstly like go to our.
No. What's your business?
Mainly like healthy food provider.
Right. You make healthy foods. Yeah, this, by the way, my questions are typically not I'm not trying to trick anybody. It's pretty, so you make healthy food. So what's a major B2B relationship you would have?
Maybe with suppliers.
Bingo, exactly. And then therefore, give me an example of a e-commerce process that you could leverage to improve.
It could be SAP, for example, logistics with the suppliers, or how is it called, like the SAP, the supply chain of management,
Right, could be supply chain management, right?
Yeah. You
probably wouldn't use SAP. It costs typically hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for that application, but you wouldn't know that. But I'm just telling you that you'd probably use probably a specialized supply chain management software for small and medium businesses. But you're right, it's supply chain management, yeah. And it would be what in that, now specifically, what kind of detail would you be? What would you be managing in that supply chain? Just give me maybe one example.
Like the delivery of food from supplier.
Okay, like
maybe
just go with that, but just be a little more specific.
fresh food
right?
from supplier, right?
So it's Monday morning and you have your staff coming in at probably 6 o'clock to do prep work for the food that you plan to make and deliver that afternoon. And so what would you want to know specifically about
Like
that?
the amount of supply, amount of ingredients, the costs, maybe the delivery costs, yeah, maybe storage of the products also.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, that's all. That's all. I'm not going to drag you through the detail, but the point is that it's that level of detail that if you have systems set up that are talking together, you have a particular menu and you break down that menu and you know exactly how many onions you need or how many grams of rice you need or how much butter you need in aggregate for the menu. If I sell 10 of these dishes and 20 of these dishes and 15 of these dishes, then I break them down by all of the ingredients to make those dishes. So then I have a pile of raw materials. So how much sugar do I need? Probably not so much because you guys are into health food, but or how much flour do I need? Or how much low-fat milk, or maybe almond milk, or whatever you super healthy people drink. But you have that list of very specific, and then you've got that relationship with your supplier that boom, you launch that off electronically, and hopefully it goes into their system, and then it tracks that delivery. So that's what I'm looking for. And by the way, I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to everybody in the class. That's that level of detail that you have to be able to define. Then you know what systems, and by the way, I'm leading into activity 6.0, which I'll introduce at the end of today, not the end of today, but the end of this discussion. You're going to have to create now a system that supports all of this. And you don't just buy computers for the sake of buying them. You're the business person. You have to know what exactly am I running on those systems. And it all starts from what's the business process? What do I do for a living? And then how do I do that? And so thank you for that example, even though you didn't raise your hand. So I'll go abuse somebody else now. Next one.
Okay.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was thinking about our project for this number one, because basically the idea of our company would be that our service providers are individuals and they don't come from any other companies. So what about in our case, what could be the B2B, maybe the payment process and so on, but for us it's
the payment process certainly would be one, right. And the payment process might be a little more complicated because you're going to get the payment from the end user, and then you're going to split the payment. You're going to keep some, and you're going to send some off to the supplier.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your in your business model, that's part of your value add to the suppliers, is that you take care of accounts receivable.
Yeah, basically it would happen that the customers are paying straight to the individuals, but it happens in our platform. But then it could be possible that we would need that, let's say other company in between to the payment process. But yeah, it was
you mean specifically a third-party payment service?
Yeah, this is what I was thinking as well, personally.
Right. In fact, we're going to talk about that today. That's the topic of the day, is payment systems. Yeah. And it's not to jump ahead into payment systems, but payment systems are very complicated. And that's why we outsource to third-party payment systems, because you and I are not so clever that we could, but it actually has evolved into be a specialty third-party payment systems because it's got a lot of complexity, the number of banks you're connected to, the number of currencies that you support, the different regions, the different rules in terms of reporting and taxation. It's very complicated. I mean, in terms of the scope of, so it's just easier just to essentially do payment systems as a service. You've heard that before.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that our group had a little bit difficulties with this question because we don't have a tangible product. We have people, individuals that are providing the services. So there is no other companies in between, so to say. It's individual that is providing the service and then the customer, the end customer.
Right. Part of that. Although you also have other B2B relationships. You have B2B relationships with your advertising, and because part of this activity was to leverage social media platforms, right? So you might. We didn't get into this level of detail, but if you guys were doing any research, you might have seen that if you put an ad, post an ad using the Google Ads services, Google will give you a little piece of code and you'll give that piece of code to your web developer, and they will put that code on the landing page. And when that code is on the landing page, but HTML, remember that? So it's just, it's very little, I mean, by the way, I'm not an HTML programmer, but I just know that this is the way the system works. They put a little code on the website so that when you click, when your prospect clicks on that ad and that ad redirects that prospect to your web page, Google can use that little code and now track the full life cycle of that activity. Why would you do that? Because if you knew not simply that they clicked through, but exactly what that user did when they came to your site, then you could be more effective at managing the ROI of that particular ad campaign.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there's an example of your site is now connected to your ad partner site, and you're sharing information, and then you would go back into your Google ad portal, your business portal for your account, for your business, and you could see the reports. In fact, I don't know if you paid close attention, but Tomasz Bartek shared a view of Google ad report, and it gave that level of detail. This is beyond the scope of this class to get into that level of detail, but any of you, if any of you are interested in going down this path of e-commerce and being a social media platform specialist, and you probably will go work for somebody who will train you. Nazim, by the way, for those of you who might be interested in this, I would message him separately and harass him for an internship or maybe even a part-time job. And he, as long as you're clever and you're energetic and motivated, he will teach you everything he knows. I've seen him do this to a couple of our students before, where he brings them on board because he has more work than he has resources. But it's his, I think he's what, 5 or 6 years of experience with these platforms, that he knows he needs to train people to be ninja like him at using those platforms. But not to get away from the point of simply, this is an example of B2B, but related to this last activity that we had. Let me jump down to, these are the question 6 and 7, where you were making the connection between the a contract offer, contract acceptance, and contract consideration. And I'll start with the consideration because I think that was the most confusing. Consideration that's the exchange where you've agreed to exchange something of value. So most commonly it's money. They give you a product or a service and you give them money. So when you check out and you click through into the payment system, that's when you're now at that exchange step, and that's consideration. The first thing that happens is that there's an offer, and that's where you're supplying the information about the product or service with the terms associated to that. And acceptance is when now the potential buyer has read the offer to include terms and conditions and accepts that. So they've gone through, I can see that you, the supplier, have made the offer. You need to make sure that all of the, and this is back to law and taxation, you've been very explicit about the terms and conditions about that offer. And then that user comes and is then accepting those terms. So that's what's most important here, just that we differentiate these things. And if some of you haven't been actually in business before, it's just important that these are, I mean, I think sometimes when we're not responsible as the business entity, we don't think about these things being broken up into explicit and discrete stages. But in fact, they are, because they happen so quickly. We just think about them all together. Someone's at the door. We're going to ignore them. All right. The next one is there was terms of service, warranty, and forum selection clause. I'm going to throw this one back out to you guys. Can someone give me an example of a forum selection clause? And in the answer, I want you to explain why it's so important to have that. Nikita. Nikita.
Yeah, I kind of misunderstood this question. Could you repeat, please?
Okay, you have to pay attention when I'm asking the question, not when I ask you the question. So it's forum selection clause. Explain forum selection clause and then tell me why it's important for a business to be considerate when they set up the notice to users, potential customers that are coming to their website. It's actually general. Even if you didn't have a website, you would want this in your terms and conditions in any contract. But why is that important? What is it first? Are you Googling it now?
Could I answer it if everyone's like fine with it?
Yeah, please, Sean, help
Okay.
us out.
So basically it's like this, so a forum selection clause is like, it basically is a clause that, it's like a future future clause in case of any disputes happen between two specific parties, and it helps to it helps to designate where this in case of any like issue, it'll be like taken case in like in this specific area or like in this specific location, so like jurisdiction.
Exactly, exactly. Keyword, jurisdiction, bingo. But it doesn't help, it defines. It explicitly says, if you and I do business together, and you've read this clause, you agree that in the case of my business, you agree that we're going to go get on an airplane and go to Silicon Valley, and we're going to be in the state of California, and that's where we're going to resolve this dispute in the jurisdiction of the state of California, in the county of Santa Clara. Yeah. Why is that important?
I feel like it's important because generally you can solve this dispute in this specific place, and therefore it does not create an issue later on where you don't know where to basically go in order to like solve this issue. So like if you have this like in advance prepared already, then in case of any disputes, you basically just take the case to that specific court and you get it solved.
Exactly, exactly. Because believe me, I don't want to be in Bangalore, India, trying to resolve my dispute with our product, Iris, and who owns the intellectual property rights. Not in a million years. I don't want to be in the Czech Republic. I don't know which judges you're supposed to bribe and how much cash you're supposed to put in the brown paper bag. I have no idea how this system works here. And maybe I'm being tongue-in-cheek facetious, but maybe that's how it works. I don't friggin' know, but I do know how it works where I have experience, and I know that it's generally very, they follow a rule of law. And you might think to yourself, this isn't, Professor Cohen's legal class. Why would we talk about this? This is very important, this whole chapter on law and taxation, because it's even more critical because it's not so obvious. People will put up a website and start selling shit anywhere on the planet and not even consider about the snake pit of legal and financial liabilities that they're walking into, which is why, and this is related to another question I asked, maybe Sean, if you want to keep going, you're on a roll. What are the two services that every business entity should engage with before launching an e-commerce initiative?
I would say that IT professionals and lawyers, or probably lawyers would be one of them, just in case, like, you come across like the laws per country is very different. So like, there's various like financial laws, or there's various like laws to like set up a e-commerce site, for example. So like maybe you would want to have a lawyer in that case, and maybe an IT professional to like help you guide how the system works.
The IT professional, I think, is in there, but even before that, the other one is related to, anyone else want to chime in? I had this big page, I said lawyer and a
tax advisor.
Tax advisor, exactly. Go get these experts involved. And one of the things that might be strange to you now that we're 13 weeks into this class is you might be thinking, he keeps dragging us back into these business level discussions when this is an e-commerce class. And yeah, I do that in the context of e-commerce, but this is a business. And these are the things that I have experienced. And I know that other people, through their own mistakes and having done it wrong, typically that's where we learn the best, because it's seared in our head. Oh crap, I made that mistake. I didn't have the right legal representation and considerations around my idea before I launched it, and it caused me that problem. Or I wasn't considerate of the tax ramifications because maybe I'm in the United States and I have different, I don't know if you know this, if you've ever been to the States, but there are different retail tax rates, not at the country level and not even at the state level. The jurisdiction for taxation on retail sales is like within the county or the city. That's the tax authority. So I can be in San Francisco and I'll pay 9.25% sales tax, or I drive an hour south to Santa Clara where Apple is, and I might pay 8.45%. Oh my God, how do I keep track of all this stuff? And it's just the awareness of the complexity that you're getting into. You're gonna go into business, and it's the business that probably is what you're good at, hopefully, or you'll get good at, but it's all of these other related things that you need to have help with by the experts. And that's why I pound on these things to consider before you go in as you launch yourself out of that. Okay, that's forum selection clause. That's a big one. And I've been involved in enough litigation that one's that's a hot one. And it's one of those things that it is terribly expensive if you do it wrong after the fact. And it's really just easy peasy if you do it right going into it. The next one is terms of service. And the second one was warranty. And I'm not going to ask you to describe those things, but just the point is that terms of service, it's just a list of the rules that define when if you're going to come to the site and you click on it. I think Shaw and I think we're going back and forth on their most recent activity. Was that you, Shaw? I think when you went to a page and there wasn't terms of service. Yeah, that was very strange to me. This was a wireframe diagram software. This is some cloud-based software for doing wireframe diagrams. And strangely, when Shaw went to their website from his laptop, it did not make him click on his acceptance of terms of service before he downloaded the software. But when I went to the same site from my mobile, in my mobile application view, the user interface for the mobile, it did have a statement that said, when you click to download the software, you accept our terms of service. Now, it was kind of poorly designed because you couldn't actually click on the terms and service, and it didn't jump over to the actual terms and conditions explicitly. So you'd have to go back to their website and read it, which was just stupid, but that's bad design. But the point here is that they are forcing you to read it. Why? Because if they just gave you their software without you accepting the terms of service, then you might use it inappropriately. You might copy it. You might do something that would at least create an ambiguous situation that might not be easily resolved in a court of law. But if I explicitly say, you can't copy my software, you can't copy my images, my intellectual property, you promise to only use this software for your personal use, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to explicitly say all these things. So when you click on that, you agree to those things. And then therefore, if you deviate from our agreed to terms and conditions, then I can sue you. I can send my attorneys after you to go. Probably the first thing that action they take is to send you a cease and desist order, which is just simply a letter that says, you better stop what you're doing because I'm going to come after you and it's going to cost you a lot of money. I'm going to make it very painful for you if you continue to do that. And hopefully in the terms of service, it would also have the forum selection clause that would say, and you're going to have to get on an airplane and come to visit me in the state of California, where we'll sit in front of a judge and go by the rules, the laws within the state of California. And there explicitly, it says, if you steal somebody's intellectual property, there's a penalty for that. And you would have to abide by that, if in fact you had ever planned on doing business in the United States. Okay, enough of that fun. That's all I got. That's all I got for that. Let me see. What are we going to do today? So we reviewed the quiz. I'm still grading it because I didn't know whether you guys could read that or not, but it's now nice to know that you could read it and you just did very poorly on it. Unless you want to retract that answer. Unfortunately, this class is already being recorded, so I've got that on tape, as they say. Let me go through, I went through your activity 5, and most of you did really well at something, but not necessarily everything. So let me, I'm gonna ask you, and you can share your screen if you want. And by the way, the groups, just so you can get ready to speak, I'm gonna ask Hlachki, I'm gonna ask Shaw and Moody. I'm gonna ask those 3 groups to say something. Because each of you did something that I liked a lot.
If we can start, if Hlidashki group can start.
Okay, great. So let me stop sharing my screen. And if you want to share your screen to make this more helpful, and by the way, I would appreciate you sharing your screen, and also to motivate the rest of the teams to pay attention. So what I'm asking you to talk about is something that they didn't do, mostly. So I would like you to review your ecosystem for an ad. And by that, what I mean, you guys did a very comprehensive job of clearly identifying what your objective was, your business objective, and then you researched the ad platform and what information they needed that you had to create. Sometimes it was content, it was a picture, or it was text, which is the call to action, or you researched, let me see, keywords, and they've developed a landing page. So if you could share that with us, I would appreciate that.
So
They would
you want Hlidashki to show our landing page and the SEO steps we were suggesting to go through?
Exactly. Yeah, open up your project, the document that you shared with me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Sean,
and just kind of
maybe
walk through it.
maybe
And for
you
the rest of you, look at the details that they developed and provided in their project. That's what I expect and expected, past tense, and expect future tense to be in your projects if you did not do this for your first attempt at 5.0. Okay, Maria.
Okay, great. I will share the landing page, and Maria, you can talk about the SEOs and stuff and how we basically got them both in contact with each other, like how it's all connected.
Please.
I don't know which one is it. I hope it's this one. Yeah. Can you guys see the screen?
It's not fully
Yes.
visible. Oh,
Is it?
I'm with my mobile phone at
Is
the
it visible right now?
No, it's not visible right now. It was visible earlier.
Oh, okay. Just give me 1 second. Can you guys see it now?
Yes, now it's good.
All right, perfect.
But let me, before you start here, let me, I don't mind you starting with, 'cause to me, this is the punchline. This is the last thing that you did. It's maybe the first thing you thought of, but it's the last thing that you
Yeah.
did, which was the landing page. So when you're done describing this, then please go back and share all the things that would happen before you got here.
Okay, so basically, like I think let's like talk about all of the Google ads and all of that kind of first, because that's all kind of like interconnected with this landing page, and how this landing page is kind of going to be applicable for like to be processed on our website, as well as for like useful on like the phone, for example. So like it'll be applicable for both apps. So like I mean, if you want to like access our website on the laptop, you can do it, and it'll also be accessible on our phone. And to do that, we also have like various other ads, that these ads would the Google ads would be placed on like various websites, and then they would be directed eventually to this page. That is, if you're using it from your laptop or if you're using it from your iPhone.
And now, when you say iPhone, you mean that generically as a smartphone device, right?
Exactly, like a smartphone device. Exactly. I mean, I'm just so used to like terming it as an iPhone that I just finally say iPhone. But like, yeah, it would be applicable for all, for iOS
But
devices.
not to be lost on that, because you point something out, and maybe it's just you're already thinking it, but you actually, when you talk to your development team that does the mobile version of the page, by the page, because there's no such thing as a website, right? It's each page.
Yeah, it's a web page. Each page.
Yeah, each page has to be tested and developed against an Android phone and an iOS phone. And
exactly.
if there's one person left on the planet that still has a BlackBerry, maybe a BlackBerry, probably not, but yeah,
Yeah.
so whatever. And by the way, and we talked about this like 10 weeks ago, and even down to the version, right? The version of the Android, right? Because they call them distributions, each distribution behaves a little bit differently. And by the way, this is where your brain
and like
wants
you
to
have
blow up.
exactly, and like you also like for various systems, you basically have various like terms and conditions that you would probably have to take into consideration before you launch a web page, or like, for example, launch an app, or like for example, to be applicable to be useful on your mobile phones. Like there's various terms and conditions that you need to consider as well. And that's what we thought about, and that's exactly how we decided that we're going to make this very easy to be accessible, but like also take into account the various terms and conditions of various systems that offer this services to us.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I guess we can talk about the Google ads and all of that sort of stuff right now. Maria, you there?
Please.
Yeah, sorry, I was chewing.
Maria?
So do you want us
It's okay.
also to?
So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and you can show all of the various Google ads and the budget and the how we selected the geographical location and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. It went away. But if you
Oh.
can remember the things that these guys developed on the page, we have to keep going back to the other things that we've talked about in the class, like on the landing page, the objective of the page needs to reflect the different user behaviors. So I could have a buyer, I could have a shopper, I could have a browser, and I need to know who might come, what behaviors might come, and how does this site support those different kinds of users? Okay, keep
Okay,
going.
do you see my screen?
I can.
Do you all can see my screen?
Yeah.
If I can, they
Yes,
can.
So, yeah, okay. So, firstly, let's start with Google Ads then. So we have created our Google Ads account and we have applied the keywords related to our platform. So the purpose was to create both keywords applying to the platform itself and then keywords which can be applied to the particular service, like services field, because we have 4 directions of services. So here you can see that we have just the words services itself, online services, because we are applying also online services, find a specialist, find a professional, and then particular services like healthcare, handyman, cleaning services, home health, sorry. Oh, I'll turn on the video. Home healthcare services and tutoring service. So those are the most popular keywords according to Google Trends. So we have checked them via Google Trends and we have seen that there is a tendency of especially those services to be popular in browser. That is how we have observed how our website would look like in your browser. So this is how you'll see it from the laptop. You can see here that it's the platform just about finding a professional and then about particular services we suggest. And firstly, we have decided to start targeting only Prague. So here you can see that we have chosen only that particular Prague center and not cities around, because probably there is not that demand on services around. So we would start with Prague and then we would apply more and more. So here you can see a summary of this campaign. The campaign is just to find your professional. So it's the overall campaign for all the business. And we are expecting 160 impressions. So these would be around 1,500 to 2,000 clicks per month. So this is just the ad we would be running for the website itself. So here is the campaign goal is take an action on the website. So here is an estimated budget we have. So it's around 700 kron per day. So per month it would be 20,000 just for this campaign. So this is just the campaign which would appear in your browser. And so the keywords you can observe here. And then there are a few more campaigns we want to run. We have different marketing objectives. So we have our funnel and we want to meet our customers to firstly build awareness, then influence their consideration on the next step of marketing funnel, and then drive action in the end. So that's why we have 3 different campaigns. For build awareness, we would use custom affinity audience to target. And for influence consideration, we would use similar audience, whether for drive action. Oh, I didn't make it bold here. To drive action, we would do dynamic remarketing and we would choose the similar audience also. And dynamic remarketing is dynamic remarketing allows you to show particular services to particular people who were searching for them. For example, if you were searching for someone to take care of your dog, then you would see this particular service suggested to you with the price in the browser. So you would know not just the service commercial, but the commercial of the particular service. And then the goal is leads. And this is a campaign, and the campaign is display ads. So we would use actually there are only 2 types of display ads. You can use responsive display ads where you just apply you can apply 3 types of photos. You can apply landscape, which would be observed like that, a square, and a logo. So the Google ads, which combine it in the way the user sees the browser and what gadget does your potential customer use. So you can apply the keywords, headlines. So we have added few headlines and descriptions. So this is for responsive search ads, and they would look like that. So those are automatically built by Google Ads. And then for uploaded display ads, we have made our own ones.
Here are these models, right?
Yeah, yes. So we are just showing the example how it will look like. So we follow the design of the current Mktg website, and you can see it here. So then
I'm going to stop you for 1 second, please. So scroll back up. I really appreciated that you guys took notice of the design specifications for the different ads, as you described earlier, whether it be a banner ad or a tower, and what the ratio of that image will be or has to be, because that's what Google has. Google has this huge inventory of all of these ad real estate, but they all follow the same dimension requirements, so that then when you provide an ad, it has to fit into that system. And so you don't get to just create something with your own custom dimensions. And by the way, also with pixel quality, how many, what is it,
there can be only no more than 150 pixels, and the Google Ads, there is no tool to somehow optimize it. So if you didn't do that in advance, then you have to redo it entirely. So it was very strange to find out. Those two are 250 and 300. And this, according to current analytics, is one of the most successful banner type. And this one is like a skyscraper banner type. And this one is also pretty successful one. So the others we are considering are for mobile version also. Those ones are only for laptop and tablets.
Right. And so just to point this out, so there are a lot of experiences, if you're an expert at this, that you will have to go through, and then it'll just be second nature after you do it a few times. But the first few times, you'll find, for those of you who want to go into this professionally, be ready. You're going to be very frustrated, because every time you go to do something, you're going to find out that there's actually a specific requirement for exactly how you do that, so you fit into their system, because they're doing this to billions and billions and billions of ad placements every day, every minute. And so you just have to follow that system. So you have to be creative where you can be creative, but in some aspects, you just have to follow their systems, and they will advise you. I can't remember, did you guys talk to the Google people directly? One of the teams actually did, I think. Google advisors. Who talked to the Google advisors? Oh, Shaw Academy. I'll talk to them later. Yeah, so I'm sorry, so keep going.
Okay, so about SEO. So this is a new version of the website with a new design. And what do we do for SEO actions for the page? So in Google Ads, we have talked about keywords. So now we pretty much know which keywords we are supposed to add. But in addition, we need to work in many things, not only keywords. So firstly, we need to create the plan and set the goals for the website. Then we need to build a sitemap, and then we need to focus on keywords we have decided to focus on in our Google Ads campaigns also. Then we need to make competitors research and rank our websites according to competitors and rank competitors' websites. We need to look around, how do they do their backlinks? How does it all work? How many citations do they have? How many times their links are mentioned somewhere? Then we would work on on-site.
Excuse, I'm gonna interrupt again. Where did you learn that?
Oh, I work as a digital marketer. partly.
I noticed you referenced the Moz earlier.
Oh,
Did
yes.
you and the team watch the video, that guy's
Oh,
video?
yeah. I did. I think some of my teammates also did.
Did you guys learn a lot from that
I
video?
did as well. I did as well. But like, yeah, it was a lot. It was very interesting, to be honest. I'm not gonna, like, it was like we learned a lot, I would say. And like that actually definitely helped me like create the landing page and all that sort of stuff. So I would say that it was really, really beneficial.
Right. But I was joking with Tomasz Bartek before about only knowing 2 or 3 digital media marketing experts, but in fact, I do know more than a few. This Moz guy is my favorite. He is so clever and so experienced that if any of you do want to pursue this as a business or this as a profession, you're a monkey if you don't go watch that video. Because it's just a great introduction to the level of detail that is, and I think it's like crack cocaine or something. I think you would, once you get in on it, there's so much to learn and so much to test and experience to see, is this better or is this better? And SEO changes every day. It's a bit of a black box in that Google and the other folks don't publish their algorithm. They don't, their page ranking system. They don't tell you exactly how it works. So you kind of just, from looking at the results based on changing different variables, you learn over time. So it's a very sought after skill set if you can develop that skill set. And I think you'll find employment for the rest of your career if you got really good at it, as he has in his consulting firm.
Moz are the best, especially because they track the little changes Google does, and they have their like newspaper, and they keep sending every day if something changes. They keep tracking what is going on in SEO world, and it's super helpful. And also what they do, they work a lot with teaching you how to tell your clients that SEO is important. And that is why I really liked those 4 videos, because sometimes it's important to revise to be able to describe to someone why do they need that and why do they need to spend that much time and sometimes that much money for it. For example, especially about link buildings, sometimes people ask like, what is it? Why do I need to pay to be mentioned somewhere? How does it work? And then this guy is really good in describing that. I see like how in his head he's arguing with people who don't believe in the importance of SEO.
Right. Well, and this is what Nazim learned. I don't know how much he talked about when he talked to our class, but as I've talked to him over the years, he's learned that the best thing to do is just to show clients what other clients have experienced. So if you spend, you know, $1,000, $2,000 on my consulting service to help improve your SEO, I mean, who gives a shit? You know, what I give a shit is if the volume of traffic that came to my site and then the resulting increase in business that I got, that's what I care about. And if I can manage that and track that and see that there's a cause and an effect by improving SEO, my business improves because more people see me, then is the ROI, return on investment, is it worth me spending that money? And I think that that's the key to this. And it's part of this last activity that I've asked some of you to go back and I was like, where's your budget? What's your objective and what's your budget and what's the relationship between those? If you're going to spend $1,000 or $2,000 or $500, whatever the ad campaign budget is, what do you expect to make from that? Now, if you're just a new business like My Food and you're just looking for awareness, then you at least have to quantify, if I have 500 or 1,000 people who are now aware of me, then I can project that maybe 100 would maybe buy my stuff. then I could see the return on investment for that stage of my funnel. This is very important in the whole process, but not to be lost that we're only doing this because we're expecting to get a business effect. And let me also make one more statement about this SEO, because SEO, we're talking about organic search. So you're not paying for an ad, but there are competing options for you to spend your marketing energy and marketing resources on. One is SEO, and another could be paid ads. But this other thing that I've spent a lot of time talking about is these social networks and virtual communities. This is a different concept. This is where your brand or your product is showing up within the communities of where you guys are doing, where you're doing business. You might know, like from Big Bang Theory, I think they've got some drink, I don't know if it's Red Bull or whatever, but it's called product placement. And it sits there next to Sheldon or his buddies on the sink, or maybe there's some like cereal, maybe like Captain Crunch or something. And there's this, they're paying to put that product there, because if you like Big Bang Theory and Sheldon and all his weird scientist buddies, then you might associate with them when you see that special drink or that breakfast cereal, and then you might go and buy that. And not as a like a hidden message. It's just context. It's psychographic. It's, I want to be like those guys. It's why people buy shoes that Shaquille O'Neal wears. If I like basketball and I like Shaquille O'Neal and I like Nike shoes because he wears Nike shoes. So there are these different competing channels of where you can spend your money. And the point starts historically, SEO was the way to go because we didn't have the mature social media platforms that we have today. But just know that we've got these competing options as we're going forward.
I would say that now the big competitor for SEO is the ability to advertise in LinkedIn, because SEO was pretty important for B2B always, and for some of them it was the only solution, the only thing to invest in. But now there is also LinkedIn, where B2B can run commercials, and I would say that this is a competitor to SEO. Okay.
Right,
so,
depending on your target market. Sure.
Yeah. So what else? So we would work on backlinks, but then we would work with on-site optimization. We would apply keywords. We would work on content, navigation of the website. Then we would do off-site optimization. So here is a link building, organic mentions, and paid link building, where just your links are going to be placed in some websites and you pay for it every month. Then backlinks building, and then tracking those results and adjusting the campaign, as well as Google Ads and Search Console, and just SEO path we are going to follow.
Great. Great. That's perfect. Thank you for giving us that overview. So for the rest of you, you can see the level of detail. Some of you didn't do, some of you did a little bit of that, and some of you did none of that. So, but that's, and you don't have to do everything that they did because your project is different, but you should certainly go back and watch those videos on Google Ads and Facebook ads and that Moz SEO consulting introduction, because when you look at those, between the three, they will explicitly say exactly what you need to do to develop your ad campaign. It's not simply about having an ad. It's about, okay, what are all the other things I have to think about in terms of that ad? As they've just described, what's the format? What's the landing device? Is it going to be laptop? Is it going to be mobile? What are the dimensions? What's the content? What's the image? What's the text? What's the call to action? When they click on it, what's on the landing page? Is the landing page reflective of what they are expecting to see? Are they shoppers, buyers, browsers? Just have those considerations in the development of your content. Okay, let's take a 15-minute break, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to ask Shaw Academy to talk. So come back at what, 20 after? 20 after. See you guys in a minute. All right, welcome back. So let's go to Shaw. If you guys could talk about, you used the Google Business Advisor, I believe, in your write-up. Can you describe what got you to use their services and what you learned from them?
I think you might have gotten it wrong because we didn't use like exactly Google advisors. What we mentioned in the text was that, yeah, like after doing some research, we saw that these BDC advisors, or like an employee from this finance company, said that that they recommended starting with like a budget of $1,000 monthly in order to have like an effective advertising campaign with Google Ads.
Can you share your document as well then, what you submitted?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood that. What I liked was the level of detail that you guys researched to identify in the business process, what you would spend your money on and how you would spend it.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what we mentioned is that, yeah, based on this like advice from this employee from BDC, yeah, we came up with the conclusion that maybe $1,000 was like a good start, because well, since we have like previously like lost customers, like maybe we cannot afford to to spend that much money on advertising campaigns. So yeah, we decided like to follow this advice. And since with Google Ads, like you can, like there's no minimum amount like established of money, so we can decide how much we want to spend daily or monthly. I don't know, that's an advantage for us to use Google Ads.
Right. Let me point out though that so even if you don't know, I mean, you don't know because you're not Shaw Academy employees and you don't have access to probably the confidential data that they probably wouldn't share with you, like how many customers do they actually lose as a result of some of their behaviors. Mm-hmm. But you can predict that, or you could not predict it. You could assume a number that we lose so many. And then from that, you could say, okay, what's that worth to our business if we lost maybe what, 5% or 10%? Or you could say, because of these negative postings, maybe you could do some research and find out how many prospective clients you could have gotten that chose not to use your service because of those negative postings. Mm-hmm. Now, some of that is very subjective. You can, I mean, like most things in life, you can't get a perfect picture, but you can collect a lot of data to at least make an informed decision and make some assumptions about how costly this is to your business. But yeah, what you don't do is just jump in there and say, I'm going to spend $1,000 because I'm losing some business. I mean, you can't, because that's not a complete rational business decision-making process. You have to really have, and again, maybe you don't know the exact number, but you have to say, we could be losing this amount of money based on this, anecdotal evidence and based on these assumptions. And of course, every time you make an assumption, you want to go and validate it whenever you can, but at least you have some sense of, you know, the size of the problem that's worth saving, because maybe you actually don't lose. I've told you this at the beginning when you took on this project. Maybe it's part of their business practice that they don't give people their money back, and they don't care. Because maybe that's a profitable business, that they just they market the hell out of the quality of their content, and then when some people sign up and they're not happy and they don't get their money back, they say, I don't care. Because we've got, maybe that's 10, 15, 20% of the subscriptions that they're not giving the money back by them putting it in their pocket. And so maybe they don't get some, you know, number of clients who read the bad reviews, but they make a business decision that, hey, it's worth it for us not to give the money back and just to put it in our pocket. I'm just saying that those are just, everything is a business decision. Hopefully we are teaching the next generation of business people, you know, that ethics are, you know, important, and it's not just all about making money. But you have to just consider that could be a part of what they're doing, and in their approach to this. The other thing that I was going to point out in the ad specifically is in your call to action. I don't know what you're doing differently are you actually, do you have an objective of changing the brand reputation, or are you just driving for more customers?
Well, what we wrote in our last activity was that that we wanted to like to change like our reputation. We do want to start practicing like better ethics.
And how does that show up in the ads that you're placing? Now I'm being critical of your project submission, but so not to take away from what I liked, which is why I wanted you to talk about what you've done. What you've done is the tactical ad development activities that are required to create and execute a campaign. And this is the most important thing about this particular activity, is the work that you actually did do. I'm just now, as we're going through it, I'm pointing out that you want to make sure that in your ad, that if there is something that is the objective of the ad, that certainly should be reflected in the text and the messaging that you're sending out. Like what would be what could be something you could modify this to be more reflective of your desire to change the brand reputation?
Well, like right now with these ads, like I don't know, I'm not like quite sure like how can we show it, but like talking about the last activity we did, like our point was to use like these bloggers to make them like write reviews in these like review platforms, and like maybe then when our customers like go and look at the reviews, and like the first thing they see is like of this the opinion of this recognized and valuable, I don't know, blogger, then that might like, I don't know, change their perspective of us, because like, yeah, even though there are a lot of bad reviews, there is this one like well-seen guy who like reviewed us well, so I don't know.
Okay, so you're addressing that in another social media context. Separate. Okay. So let's go back to this one then. So the ad And this is the point that I'm certainly most interested in everybody else paying attention to, which was the same case with the previous project, Halachki. What are the components of launching an ad, and how did you develop those for your particular project? Okay, so keep going, please.
Could you just say it once again, please?
Just finish with your describing what you guys did in the setup of the Google Ads with the objective and the specific fields that you developed.
To explain the template. Well, yeah, like we decided that our campaign goal is to create website traffic because we want to get again like our customers back and get new ones. And yeah, it's like for the ad text, yeah, we decided to write like Show Academy, online courses and certification, flexible online classes, and then in another ad it will say again Show Academy, online courses, certification, and let yourself excel academically and socially at Show Academy. Yeah, our chosen locations are where Show Academy has offices. So in Australia, Canada, India, South Africa, and etc. And yeah, well, the keyword themes, yeah, we thought that maybe like when people are searching for a product, they're probably like going to write like education or online academy, educational institution, online courses. So we thought like these were good options.
Okay, so let me stop you there. So you thought that those were good options. What did you learn from the last team? Somebody else from the team can chime in if you want. Keywords are funny things. And one of the funniest, not funny things, if you don't know it, Google knows a lot about keywords, what keywords are associated to what kinds of businesses to create an association. So where would you likely go to find out what keywords are important, both to put in your ad and to put on your web pages?
Well, to the websites that, I don't know, help with this.
Yeah, somebody help her out. Who else is on your team?
Lasha and Nikita, but Lasha is not here today.
So,
Nikita, what did you hear from the last team?
so it means like if we want to look for that keywords, we can use like Google and somehow connect it to Show Academy to get those keywords things. Like that.
Halachki, somebody from Halachki, tell them.
Tell why the keywords are important?
No, tell them where do you go to find what are the most relevant, important keywords that should be in my campaign and that should be on my webpage.
Okay, so there are different tools for that. Firstly, you can start with Google Trends. This one is completely free, and you can just see how many people per day, per month, per year, per 5 year Google the particular keyword. And there are more tools, of course. Moz suggests its own tool, but it's you need to pay to access it. And the other platforms for which you need to pay that also suggest the best way to create those keywords. So you need always to check them, because, for example, if you think that people Google learn Spanish with a teacher, people always Google learn Spanish with a mentor, and they don't use word teacher, for example. It's just an example.
Right.
So you, those different tools may help you to understand which keywords work for you. But if you have unusual business, then you can set up A/B testing and you can test different keywords. And you, of course, always can explore this field. Maybe people will start Googling it that way after you build brand awareness and you would need adjust keywords, but you always can check it with Google Trends, and this one is free. But this one is the best one.
Right, right. But again, since
I
we're
would,
probably a small business and maybe we don't have the money to spend on that, we could also, if we set up a Google ad account, then Google will give us access to Google resources, not just simply Google Trends. I should actually contact a Google ad advisor to give me advice on where, either within the Google network or other Google resources, to make recommendations as to where I could go and look for advice. The
Yeah.
point here is that don't go into this blindly and just, I think, and then and just go try it out. Go find, and this is for everything about this launching online platform ads or SEO, go find the experts and find out what they're doing or how they're doing it. There are tons of resources out there. Don't waste your money buying the wrong thing or investing in developing your sites without having a better understanding of what their expected results are going to be from that time and energy you're spending.
I would also say that there's another great app. It's called SEMrush free option. So like basically SEMrush is another keyword research tool. It basically allows you to perform 10 requests per day. And like each query in its tool counts towards your daily limit of 10 queries in domain and keyword analytics. So basically you can like run like an A/B testing or something of that sort using SEMrush free option. And it allows you like 10 requests per day. So
I haven't
that's
heard of
also
that.
another like great app, I would say. You could
Yeah,
probably use.
SEMrush is great for small
Can
business.
you put
Yeah,
that link
SEMrush is amazing.
in the project channel?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Thanks. Excellent, excellent. All right.
And also there is the Google Search Console, which suggests also its own suggestions to keywords and settings for the website. But it's a little bit strange. I would not say it's a perfect tool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think like most things, at least you get some incremental assistance as to what to consider, and then maybe you use their or not. But I think one of the things I've learned about as I've been doing this is that each platform, one, has its own way of approaching it, of ad platforms, ad systems, and campaigns, and within their kind of ecosystem, they collect data and give you as the user access to that data in different ways. So you'll find that each platform, you don't like learn it once and then now you know how it works for everybody. Each platform you have to learn and become a specialist at, or you have to hire people who have specific skills for each of those platforms. What I'm trying to force you into in this class, in this particular activity, is to do what Shaw Academy has done and Halachki has done, which is to go at least dive into it as much as you can for 1 week of an activity, and then dig around and see, oh, I need to know that, I need to know that, I need to know that. I need to consider the objective, my messaging, how much I'm going to budget, what my anticipated return is going to be. I can even consider, and I don't know if I saw from any of you an A/B test, but you might consider an A/B test. But I'll try this one out on a subset of the target market, and I'll try this out and then compare the results of those things. I wouldn't expect that you would do that. I would expect that you would know that A/B testing exists to try out different approaches to see which one's better than the other. But at least I want you to see that you have to know this level of detail. And when you talk about budgets and keywords and geographic targeting, then I'm getting what I expect to get out of you guys in the activity. Let me move on. Shaw, did you have anything else you wanted to brag about?
I don't think so.
No? Well, good job. Thank you. Modi, could you guys talk about your the site development and keywords?
Modri Sloan, you mean, right? Modri Sloan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Modri Salon. Did I say that funny? It's my
Yeah.
accent.
Okay, so we had focused on our keywords because we are not ready to spend a lot of money on Google Ads, and here we have top ranking keywords and with a low competition, and we are planning to rank in search for these keywords. So you can see the list. It's about 150 words, and also we're going to use hashtags in the Facebook and Instagram. Here they are. So as you can see, it's a pretty simple keywords, but they are extremely low competitive, and also like they are going to be more effective this way.
Mm-hmm.
We had a chance to talk with the Chan, and he told us that he's not ready to spend like a huge amount of money on ads, and he told that he's ready to spend about $100 per month, which is like really few amount of money.
Is it?
Yeah, probably $100 or $200, but it's like
Why? What? See, I actually gave you guys some feedback. Why is that? Why is that a little money?
Because probably he's not ready, or he doesn't know how the things works, and he thinks that probably he need to try first, and after that maybe he will give us more money.
Did you read the feedback that I gave you guys yet?
Yeah.
So how many chairs does he have in his salon?
I like about 3-4.
Mm-hmm. How many people a day can he service?
15 or 20.
How many a day is he servicing now?
6 days, I think.
6 a day?
No. 6 or 7.
Quite a lot, right? Yeah.
Okay, so he needs between 5 and 10 more a day.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where you have an objective, clear objective, 5 to 10 more butts in his chair a day, and then go back to the funnel and say, how many ad impressions do I need to have in Prog 1 that result in how many get converted to come to my website that I've attracted, that get converted to how many click on scheduling an appointment, to how many butts show up in the chair every day. And if you take that number, so we'll say 10, round number, and I back up how much money in my ad budget would I need to make that happen?
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So I would argue, I don't know, I'm just as an assumption, but you guys do the work. I think if he spends $100 a month, I think he would be quite surprised at how many butts he show up in his shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you've already shown me that the CPM, the cost per 1,000 impressions, and the PPC, which again, if you did PPC, you're only paying when somebody clicks through.
On ad, yeah.
Yeah, so and it depends on what my objective is, whether I'm shooting for awareness, CPM, or I'm shooting for conversion to click through onto my site. But if I am paying PPC, pay per click, maybe I pay 20 cents, 50 cents. And for every 10 that come to my site, one schedules an appointment. I don't know, you would have to go through this and see what the conversion rate is. And then you could see what the budget would be. But I think you'd be quite surprised that, and this is the beauty, this is why Google and Facebook are making billions and billions and billions of dollars. It's because all these little businesses and big businesses, they don't have to spend that much money, and they get a very manageable and traceable observation of the return on that investment or not. See what I mean? So he would know right away if he spent $100, whether he would go, oh shit, look at all the people that showed up. I'll spend $150. So it's not a matter of if it's too much money or not enough money. It's if I spend the money, am I getting something for it? That's all he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So apply that as you're going through it. And you guys said you're going to do this with him. Don't make it 100, make it $50. Make it $20. It could be as small as where he doesn't even think about it. It's like buying, a few Starbucks coffees, and he'll see this ratio between how much money I spent and how many appointments I got. And then it's just a matter of, does he want to dial it up or dial it down? Capiche?
Yep.
Cool. So, but going back to what I liked about this is, look at all this work that you did to identify those keywords and hashtags, and that's that level of detail that I saw here and I didn't see in others. One thing I didn't think about, and I didn't react to it earlier, is didn't you say you were also going to aim at the Korean market?
Sorry?
I remember.
Yes,
if I'm mistaken, but
No, we
No,
skip
I
that
thought
part
he's-
for now. We skip that
he's
part for
Korean,
now.
no?
Like we're gonna do expats only for now, because
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
decided to
so we're sticking
specialize
to
for now.
English?
Yep.
Got it, okay.
And about the landing page, so we have a simple website. So it's look like one page scroller. Here's a home page and a contact button. Like it's going to be our story and price list. And we are planning to connect this landing page to our like ad in a Facebook. And people who are not who don't know about our business are going to land on our website, and then they can book appointment after that.
Right. So I liked what you guys created here, and what I would invite you to think about, and I didn't focus on this in the class because it's really another level of complexity or sophistication, but that Google around, or I provided some of the stuff in the class content, customer journey. And really what customer journey is about is really putting on the glasses to see this business, not from the service provider's perspective, but from a customer's perspective. So when a customer, I'm blah, 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 oh, I need to get my hair cut. What am I going to do? Am I going to Google something? Am I going to ask a friend? Am I going to go to the expat.cz site? Am I going, what is my journey? And by the way, journey is both online and offline. It's what is that user, what do they go through in their process of, first of all, thinking that they have a need, and then where and how do they get information to decide, oh, I'm going to go to this guy's shop and make an appointment. So think about that. And the reason why I point this out is when you look at these landing pages, on your mobile device or laptop, whatever, you have to think about, is that the way that they would interact with my business? As a business, you want their contact information and you want them to send them a message, but would they really send the message saying, I want, maybe they do. I'm not, there's no judgment on if they do or they don't, but the best thing to do as a tool to think about what information you're providing before I've told you, are they buyer, shopper, browser, psychographic, demographic, that kind of helps you with some of the context and content that you're providing on the different, whether it's a device, user interface, or whether it's a phone, mobile, or laptop or website. But you want to think about what are they thinking? What do they need to move further from the journey of I need something to I'm actually going to buy it from you. Just as a piece of advice. But I think you guys did a very good job. Thank you very much for developing this. Now, I was going to ask you, I didn't post it, but did you create all this content for him?
Content is not ready because we had no time to go to his shop and take photos, but yeah.
No, I mean these
logo.
Well, the Our Story with the brush and the shaving kit and the scroll down gallery, the pictures. Did you guys create that, or is that from his shop?
It was actually template.
Just template stuff. Okay.
Okay. You mean this one?
Yeah.
It was template.
Cool. Great. Well, that's. Did you have something else you wanted to share? But that you showed us what I was looking for.
Probably for now we are done because we have a video ad which is going to be posted in Instagram. Just a moment, I will share it. Okay. Here it is. Simple video ad. Just we did it like manually, so doesn't look so much good. But we are going to work on the.
Right. What I like about this, and I would give you extra bonus points for like trying something different. This is where I think it's you really do get bonus points for just trying something different that's a little unorthodox, or you're not sure exactly how you would do it. I think you just get out there and do it. And that, by the way, this is across every one of these things, because you're rookies at this, so you only learn by doing. And as Maria will attest to, is only when you start using these things and making the mistakes, or like wasting your time on one thing and then learning, oh, but that is really effective. I need to focus my energy on that. One of the things you guys called out that I forgot to point out is simply that these Instagram quick vids are becoming more and more popular. You guys caught this. And this is something that it's very interesting in this class. From semester to semester, things change very quickly. And, platforms kind of come into favor and fall out of favor. But Instagram is getting a lot of attention now and this is where it's not like this search SEO, but people who are like birds of a feather flock together. This is where people with similar interests and backgrounds are hanging out, and then boom, this content is showing up, and it's in an interesting way that has kind of a feeling. This is where the psychographics are important. You kind of have this sense when you see the video that, oh, that's like me, and then therefore, and if you have a friend who posted it, the probability of somebody clicking through because a friend posted about a product or a service that's the reference, influencer reference, without having to pay, Shaquille O'Neal to wear your shoes. That's where you can get an increased impact, not just simply putting an ad out there with no association to your community. So those are very good. So thank you all. Thanks those three teams. So the rest of you, hopefully you could see back and forth that there's a lot of work to be done in this activity. And so of course, now I'm going to go back and redo the activity, do a 5.1, and I'd like you to see you do more about that. Let me switch. Oh wait, I just canceled my activity for today. Where did I do that? Give me 1 second. Hang on, I got to open up a new. Okay, here we go. Let me find the right screen. I'm going to run through a couple slides on this third-party payment system, and then I'm going to move on to an activity that I'd like to spend the rest of the class working on. And before you leave the class, I'd like to see at least a sketch diagram of this high-level system design. So I'll introduce that in a second. But first, let me just go through. So this is where we are. We've gone through these activities, set up the business, what's our unique selling proposition, what's the target market, what's the business process, identifying key processes where you drill down on 2 of them with the input, process, output. And by the way, that you didn't know it, maybe I mentioned it at the time, feeds this next activity 6, which is your system design. If you think about, and this maybe I used my food as an example, and we were talking earlier about Marek and having a system interface between what their food order requirements would be to get all the raw materials they would need to make all the yummy dishes for the menu for that particular day. So how are they interacting with their suppliers? And if they leveraged a supply chain management system, and we're just using that term generally, but just essentially saying, I want my computer to be connected to their computer so that when I have a particular menu for Monday, that Monday morning at 6 o'clock, boom, that supplier shows up with a truckload of goods that would allow me to, and my team, to do the prep work to make all the food that I would plan to sell that day. So that's this operable supply chain system that then therefore would have to be in my system design. And we'll talk about that later. I'll give you an example, but that's what I want you guys to do today. So we're now kind of coming full circle. We've got this business idea. We're leveraging e-commerce technologies and concepts, advertising, we're generating business to come to my shop or to buy from me online, my products or my services. And then I now am going to design a system, high level. You don't have to be system architects, high level. What are the pieces and the parts that are important, that are critical to run my business operation? Before we go there, I'm just going to take a little detour onto this other topic, and that is payment systems. So here's a very brief overview. And I said this earlier when I introduced today's discussion. Payment systems are very complicated. You don't collect credit card numbers. You don't process transactions like you do in your store, where you have a point of sale system. That's what they call them, POS, point of sale, you know, where you scan the credit card. Even those point of sale systems are provided to you from your bank or some other third party payment system provider. It's not yours. You pay typically a transaction charge as well as a monthly usage charge to have that technology in your physical shop. And the same, we have it on our website. So when you click, for example, when you go to Alza to buy something and it says redirecting, often it says something or something like that. I'm redirecting you to a third-party payment system. I'm going to go do the transaction, get the money from your customer, put it into your bank account, and then reroutes you back to your, could be the shopping cart, and then back into your site to say, okay, I confirmed the transaction and it's been paid. The payment has been resolved. So then now as a business, I can take the next step, which is to fulfill the order. I'm going to pack it and ship it, or schedule somebody to come out and provide a particular service. That's essentially what third-party payment systems are. And I described earlier why they're so complex is because they have to consider multiple currencies and multiple rules, jurisdictions as to how taxation applies. And it's very complicated. And furthermore, it's not just simply complicated, as I described, like in the United States, that we have different tax entities. It could be a city of San Francisco, could be the county of San Francisco, could be the state of California. I mean, there are different taxing entities. And the other thing is that those change over time as well. So it's not simply that I set it up and I forget about it. My taxing authorities can raise or decrease my tax rates. So in the collection and the processing, that is all quite complicated. So let them do that. And they take some fee, and you could say, hey, that's a lot of money you're taking from me. Could be 1%. Visa historically has charged as much as 2 or 2.5% of a transaction. Because of competition, the numbers have gone down quite a bit, and we're now in the 1 to 1.25%. That's a lot of money. That's percent of the total purchase price of the transaction. So if it's $100, that's $1.50 that are going off just to support the transaction. Here are examples of numbers. This is 2018 numbers. So they move around a little bit, but not so much in the last couple of years. But this is the United States. And this is something else that's quite different. Region by region behave very differently. I was very surprised, for example, when I came here to the Czech Republic, that a lot of people older, they tend to be older, don't like to pay online. They want to pay when they pick it up. So there's, for retail purchases where you go and pick it up, they want to pay often in cash. This is going down over time, but it depends regionally what the customs, what are the behaviors of your client. Unless you have a product that's heavily in demand that you control, and they would just pay for it any way they could get it, which is not common. Usually you're in a competitive market, then you have to, the power is in the buying community, so you have to acquiesce, you have to modify your purchasing process to how they buy. So here are just some examples. PayPal and these, we call them fintech, financial technologies that evolve over time. You guys might be aware of Venmo or Revolut and other platforms. I was just speaking actually with one of your colleagues. He graduated 4 years ago, I believe it is, and now he's the COO of a startup company that's that does investment. It's targeting your generation. They take money and allow you to do micro investments. So even if you just wanted to save like 100 crown a month, they take the money and they put it into a pool, and then they invest your money for you to facilitate that investment process. Because a lot of people who maybe don't have a lot of money might not have access to those kinds of resources to actually get into the market of doing equity investments, but they're providing that for the everyday person. Again, targeting the next generation. I think it's millennials on down, or that's their target market. But yet it's another example of e-commerce and payment systems and fintech platforms that are evolving in the marketplace. This is just a process diagram of how transactions happen. So when you say, oh, I'm going to have to pay 1.5 to 2.5% of my transaction to my third-party payment system, this is just a little bit of a value proposition statement to say they're not just taking your money, they actually have to do a lot of work for your money. Visa actually was one of my clients in Northern California. We provided a lot of their infrastructure systems, and fraud detection systems was one of the bigger investments that they spent millions of dollars with us to develop. As you can imagine, from a previous slide, there's a lot of money that is lost through fraud. And so if they can minimize the losses by detecting, like, for example, if you have a Visa card that's registered here in the Czech Republic, and all of a sudden there's a transaction in Nigeria, but your previous transaction was in New York City, they're going to be, this is the same credit card that's issued to this person out of the Czech Republic. That's probably a suspicious transaction, so I'm going to freeze the transaction and maybe require you to call in or to get involved and authenticate the transaction. So there's a lot of work that goes behind this. So they're not just taking your money and not providing any added value. More third-party payment systems and how they operate. I'm not going to get into the detail other than to point out to you that in fact they're very sophisticated systems. And really what's cool is that there's no monopoly on these. Historically, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, they really had a bit of an oligopoly in the United States around payment systems. But now it's really opened up quite a bit. And PayPal, if you're familiar with a guy named Elon Musk, this is where he made a big chunk of his money at the beginning, was when he developed the PayPal system with his partners back in the 90s. So here we are in the last activity that we will have for this class. And then from that, I'm gonna, so next week will be the second to last class. And then the last class, we'll be doing the presentations of your projects. So this next one is just simply to do the infrastructure. And then next week, we're gonna go through and not me, you're gonna go through all of your activities as an exercise and make sure that it's rationalized from the very beginning to the very end, that everything fits together. Now, this isn't an e-commerce initiative that you could launch, but at least for these primary activities, they should logically fit together nicely. And I think they do mostly. You just need to kind of iron it out and fine tune it here in the next week. So here's some examples of some resources that you might use to be reflected in your diagram of the resources that you would need in your system diagram. We've talked, and this is the first couple chapters, we talked about the technology basics, and then later we talked about applications and business services that you would use to support your project. And so these I've just called out a handful of things that you might consider. And so this is the activity. And the reason why I want you to do part of it in class right now in the next maybe 40 minutes, if you could do it in maybe 30 minutes and then show it to me. I just want to get an idea that you at least are on the right track, so that when you do this activity for the rest of the week, that you're not doing something wrong. But these are the things I want you to consider. What applications you would use to support your business. I want you to consider the client server architecture. What's in a server, probably in the cloud somewhere, and what kind of services are there versus what kind of services are, maybe it's in an app that you provide to your client that does something, or maybe it's something that you have in your business office where you're managing, for example, your menu and the specific ingredients that are required to create these yummy treats, and in how you're managing that inventory. The system attributes, I want you to consider security. And I have an example on the next slide, I'll show you, of a diagram, but like, where are you going to put a firewall? Where are you going to prevent somebody from getting access to your system that they've got to authenticate themselves? So maybe you're the business manager, maybe you're the director, and you have access to the system, but you certainly don't want maybe your supplier to have access to your internal system. So how are you building walls that secure that environment? I say redundancy and scalability. These are just some things to think about, and mostly they're resolved when you go to the cloud. So if you're going to use like Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud Services or any of the others that I pointed out here, Amazon Web Services, all of those have the scalability. You can scale, region to region, or you can have multiple servers or storage subsystems. So that's something you don't have to think about, but just know that they have the capability of growing with you. Or if you want to scale back down, you can do that as well. And then the last thing, and I highlighted this is what you have to do in the project. Test to see if it's both logical and complete, the diagram. And how do you do that? You do it by using what we call like a use case. You imagine, okay, I'm the director or I'm the chef. I keep using my food. I don't know why, it's easy. So I'm the chef. So I have a menu, and from my menu, I get access to that menu from my laptop, and I can go into the network from the office, and from that network I go into the cloud, and in the cloud I have a server that's running a food restaurant application that allows me to load and store my inventory requirements, as butter or whatever the ingredients are, and that also is connected to my financial management system that helps me forecast how much it's going to cost for all of my food, and that's also related to my revenue expectations. How much do I sell every day, and from my forecast to my actual, that kind of system. Where does that exist, and how do I define what those resources are, and where do I put them in my diagram? But I think about how would I go through that process, and where would those value-added activities occur within my system design. And here's just an example, and don't get hung up on this example, like it's some techno chart. It's only these little icons that define, like, you know, of course, the internet, and I have different devices, whether it's a laptop or a desktop computer, or it could be a mobile device. Strangely, there aren't mobile devices on this in this diagram, but they could be. Any of those end users could be using a mobile device to come into the internet and get access to these different services. So think about, this is the high level system design, but design it for your idea and then label each one of the systems. If there's a particular application that's running in a particular location, whether it's on the device or whether it's on a server, label it. And then below that, I want you to describe what kinds of systems you have, you're going to have in your solution. So it sounds overwhelming, but once you get started, you'll find that I'm only asking for you not to like, for example, describe your supply chain management, an application, and then describe basically what that application is going to do for you. Maybe it's a shared server where you collect data. Maybe it's your website server, your web server, and then connected to the web server would be a database of services. For example, if it's a Mktg, it could be the web server, and then separately there would be some dynamic interface where the services, it could be a plumber, or it could be a painter, or a dog walker, or somebody who cleans houses. All of that, the service provider database would be on that server. And then separately, there would be a customer database server with all of the details from my sales management system would be in there. Their name, their phone number, their email, their address, any previous services that they'd bought from us. So there's a almost like Salesforce, not like Salesforce exactly, like Salesforce as a sales automation system. So those are just some examples. So let me stop, and if you have just general questions, ask me, but what I'd like you to do in the next 30 minutes would be to actually just sketch out a diagram and identify key applications and systems that you would have in your solution that supports your business, and focus on the key value-added activities that is represented in your idea. That's what should show up in this diagram that support your idea. So that's it.
Where do you submit this? The points or the sketch we will have? Slack?
I can put this in Slack right now, yeah? I've not posted this anywhere yet. Is that what you mean?
No, I'm saying after when we are done with our task for today, where do we submit? On Slack, or?
You know what I could do? I could do breakout rooms again, and you could just share a screen with me. You can do it this way, or you can just put it in your Slack channel in your group, for your project group, and then just point me to it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Professor, but I'm the only one from my group today. So will I do it like on my own, or?
Yeah, just do best you can. You're a clever guy.
Okay.
Is that good? You want to get going? If you want me to set up breakout rooms, I could do that as well. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think that would work.
Yeah, that would be much more helpful.
Okay, right now I'm posting into the semester project, that diagram, and then, hang on one more second. You guys sound very hesitant. So let me say, just for really, don't spend more than like maybe 20 minutes, but just to like sketch out a diagram and then just pick maybe 2 or 3 applications. Think about maybe if there's an app on a smart device, identify one of those, identify just one app, critical app that would run in the cloud that supports your business, and then connect that to maybe if you are for your internal employees or for you running the business, maybe what would you have be having access to? Maybe just limit it that to, but because if you can do that, then you can do the rest of it. It's just a matter of going through all of the key value-added activities.
Can you please upload the applications available, like the name of the applications we can use?
Yeah, if you want to,
yeah.
Or but I don't, because we don't have, it's beyond the scope of, we don't have time to like go and research a bunch of applications. But if you know an application, call it out. If you just know it generically, but what you would be looking for, you could just call it that generic name and then just describe what you would want that application to be able to do. Okay.
But just a CRM would not be enough. So it's not what you mean.
CRM would be enough to put in the diagram, and then below the diagram, you would describe what you would have in the CRM system that would support your business.
I see. So we need to point out which exact tools do we need to use from CRM.
You could say tools, but I would say capabilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, I don't want you to have to know the buzzwords. I want you to just be thinking about like, what does it do? Yeah. For example, with CRM, CRM would capture my customer name, the email, maybe the history of my transactions, maybe the history of my communications with my customers, the things that they bought from me. Okay, I've put the two slides that are related to this activity in the semester project. And now I need to go off and create meeting rooms, breakout rooms. I'm letting you choose your room if you know how to do that, but I know that's been a problem historically. Do you guys remember what rooms you were in before?
Yes, I remember my room. Like
okay.
You were 4.
Yeah, let's go back there. Where are you?
My room, number 4. My
Ours was room number 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we were in 2.
Abdel, 4?
Yes, 4.
Who said 2?
Sean and Yana, Maria.
Yes.
2. Sean joined already, I think. Did he? Arthur, what room?
But I am the only one.
Oh, you're by yourself. So
yeah.
Do you remember what room you were in?
No.
Benjamin.
Room 4.
Demir.
3. Just gonna go there.
Okay. Lisa.
5.
Nikita.
Room 6.
Omar.
5.
Zmena.
6.
Maria.
2.
2?
Mm-hmm.
Arthur, room 1.
Okay, thank you.